Welcome back to the Mustang Blueprint. I'm Jack.
I'm John.
We're here with Kirsten, Brichler, and Trish, Maharaj. So to start off here, we just want you guys to introduce yourselves a little bit and just tell us a little bit about yourselves.
All right, well, I am Kirsten Brichler, so I am the SMSU greenhouse manager, and I also adjunct and teach a few agronomy courses, so courses about growing crops and things like that, which pest or bug management does fall into that, but mostly here today as greenhouse manager to talk about some of our fun bugs in there.
Awesome.
I'm Trish. I'm a junior at SMSU. I'm studying medical lab science, and I've worked for the greenhouse since I was a freshman.
Awesome. And how'd you guys end up becoming, or I guess how'd you end up becoming an agronomy professor and work in the greenhouse?
So I started out in undergrad and then my master's getting degrees in entomology, so studying bugs. And my degrees were in pest management, specifically in field crops. And then my husband is the main agronomy professor here, Adam Alford. And when he came here, there was also some openings for some more agronomy courses we wanted. And so I was able to come in, start teaching a few of those courses, kind of became friends with the previous greenhouse manager. And when she was starting to look to retire, I was able to come into that role and have had a lot of fun, learned much more about plants because there's a whole lot of different plants in there that are not corn and soy.
Right.
But have had a lot of fun bringing in some of the pest management aspects that I got to learn about during my college days, and it's kind of cool implementing those here.
Awesome. Trish, and how'd you start getting involved?
I really liked succulents, and that was basically what I went off. I was like, oh, it's a greenhouse, so I'll give it a shot. And then now I don't even have succulents. I have philodendrons and monsteras, and you got me in alocasia.
I drag people in with pretty plants.
Did.
Nice.
Come to the plant sale.
Sweet.
You will get plants and maybe become my new work study student.
There you go. And something kind of relating to that. So when you bring somebody new into the greenhouse or somebody that's never seen it before, what's kind of the first thing you introduce to them or the first thing that you show them?
So I often do tours that a lot of school-age students and stuff will come in during, usually around May or so. And during those tours, there's a few different plants I usually like to hit up. A lot of it's going to be some of the food plants. People get excited seeing where some different spices and fruits and foods come from. Also try and show off a few Minnesota natives in there. Some of my favorites like orchids and stuff. For a while we had a corpse flower, which I thought was very interesting, but unfortunately that one did not make it through some watering issues we had about a year ago. But I like showing off some of those guys.
Okay, cool.
That's cool. So like you basically like show people like some of your special plants that you have in the greenhouse when they first come there. Yeah.
We have over 200 species of plants in there. So unfortunately, if I'm given like a 20, 30-minute tour, we cannot cover all of the plants in there. I try and cover some of the coolest ones. And then if people pop by more often or anything like that or have any questions on specific ones, I am always happy to talk about what's going on in there, what we're doing, and what I know about some of the plants in there.
Yeah. And is there something that you remember, Trish, that like when you first started that kind of got you hooked or like kind of piqued your interest a little bit?
The pineapple plants?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen ones that were like, we have some in the hallway and then we have one in the greenhouse. And when I first walked in, they both had a pineapple growing on them, and that was the first time I've ever seen that.
Cool.
So
People do
really
get
cool.
excited about the pineapple plants.
Yeah.
So cool.
There's I think we have 3 pineapples growing right now between the 2 plants.
So what is a pineapple plant?
It is actually a type of bromeliad, which people normally see those. They're kind of spiky plants you might see at like Menards or something that they sell as house plants. Get these weird little flowers on them. Pineapples are a type of very large bromeliad, and the pineapple fruit is actually kind of a whole bunch of little flowers that grow together and then becomes that fruit. And then it will have new baby pineapple plants either come from the base of what we call the mother plant, or the leaves on the very top of the pineapple fruit. You can plant that and that will become a new plant.
Cool.
Yeah, I like, as a person not knowing too much about science, I like learning about science from you two over there, like it helps me like learn this is a different type of plant that we have in a greenhouse than wherever you would go and plant just at your house.
The pineapples would not be happy here. They are kind of a desert tropical plant. They'd pretty quickly die in our winters here, unfortunately, which is why we have greenhouses.
There you go. Yeah, and so you brought some here. We don't have to get into them right now. And like John said earlier, me and him aren't too familiar with science other than maybe the basic high school education you get. So what role do bugs play in, like, I guess the whole food cycle of the greenhouse? Or I'm trying to sound as professional as I can here, but what role do those play?
Bugs play a shockingly large role in management of the greenhouse. So our greenhouse kind of has 2 rooms in it. We have one room that's kind of our tropical display room that has the vast majority of the plants that people will come in and see. And we try and keep those alive as long as we can. Many of them have been here for many, many years. Our other room is our drier room. There's some cacti and other similar desert plants in there that we also are trying to keep alive long term. There's also student projects in there. Insects are a really big part of managing, especially the long-term plants. There's a lot of insects out there that attack a lot of different plants, and they'll attack them in different ways. They can slowly sicken our plants. They can transmit diseases to them that can weaken them or kill them, and some of them can attack at high enough numbers or in enough of a damaging way that it would actually kill off or make our plants look really, really bad. Or it might make it where they are stressed enough that if we have an issue in the greenhouse with, say, our water, or something happens with our temperature control, some things get too hot or too cold, they'll be stressed from the insects. And so another stressor coming in would come in and actually kill the plant. So we have to keep our pests, our problematic insects, at low enough levels that our plants can still thrive and be happy.
Okay. Yeah, and this might be a little bit off topic, but I know we had a lot of rain this summer. Did that affect what's inside the greenhouse at all, or is it kind of its own cutoff environment from that? Because I know just this summer and the fall, whenever I was outside, there was a lot more mosquitoes and not really sure the name of them, but those ladybug-looking things. So is that kind of something that is that something that affects you guys too, or not so much?
As far as the plants themselves and watering them, the rain does not really affect them because the greenhouse is entirely covered. It has a few vents. It leaks a little bit when we get some rain, and the floor might be a bit wet if you go in there.
Right.
It doesn't water our plants, though. We still have to do them by hand. As far as insects, theoretically, the greenhouse is nice and sealed and doesn't allow the pest insects in, even if they're changing outside. In reality, having a facility, a building completely sealed to the point that small pest insects aren't going to get in is pretty near impossible, especially when you have people going in and out.
Right.
So sometimes we have different kinds of insects that maybe were in the corn or the soy fields, and especially during harvest when all of those plants are taken away or they dry down. Sometimes you'll see groups of those insects kind of start flying in mass and spreading around. And we might actually see an uptick of those in the greenhouse because there's so many of them. More of them are finding their way in.
Okay. And this is a question for you, Trish. What are some things that I guess you can inform students that might be interested in, this subject or this field? What are some things that you can tell them, or maybe share a story about when you first started getting interested in this kind of stuff?
I think the easiest thing is just talking to Kirsten or Monica Miller. Both of them are so darling. I love both of them so much. They're really, really kind, and they're easy to talk to. So the best thing to do is just have a conversation with them. You'll know almost right away that you want to.
Right. Cool.
If you can't tell, I get excited about the bugs and the plants.
Right.
Yeah.
I will talk.
Will make you
People see
excited.
yourself.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I think if you want to kind of show us what you've got here, you brought some bugs and some vials, it looks like. So
Yes, I brought some friends and some foes. So, yes, go ahead.
I was going to ask a question about, like, did you bring some of the good bugs and bad bugs that are for,
yes,
for
I
the
brought
plants?
excellent.
some of what we might call our super bugs. If you guys walk into the greenhouse, you will notice there are posters in there that talk about our heroes and our villains of the bugs. that I try and have them be easy to understand and have nice photos and everything of both a lot of our pests, so the bad bugs, the villains, and our beneficial insects, the good bugs, the superheroes. And I have brought examples of a few of our currently active superbugs, as well as the pests that they are currently fighting and eating. So, do we want to start with big flashy bugs first, or the really hard to see small ones?
Let's start with the really. Let's end on a bang. So let's
Okay.
start with the smaller ones.
Oh, but you're going to be surprised at the bang with the smaller ones. But, all right. You guys want to look on this. This will absolutely not show up on any cameras whatsoever. But if you're looking on the leaf on there,
Oh, I see it.
there's kind of like little lumps on there. And then
'em?
really small little white insects.
Little tan things. Yeah.
And then can you tell me, do you see anywhere in there, is there something that looks really, really tiny, even smaller than the white insects, but kind of yellow? There's 2 or 3 in there, but they are hard to see.
Is it just like the little yellow specks kind of, or
Little
are they-
yellow specks that might be flying around.
Oh
or
yeah, I think are they like a little darker?
a little
see
bit,
'em?
yeah.
You see them at all?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a nice like vision test, to see.
They are very small.
Yeah, I think I see one crawling around though. Yeah, that's very small.
So what you are seeing in there, the white insects are something that we call whiteflies, and they are a pest. The little lumps that you saw in the leaves are the larval or the baby whiteflies. What these guys do is, as both those larvae, the babies, and as the adults, they kind of use these needle-like mouth parts to pierce into leaves and suck out the juices. It doesn't outright kill the plants, but it is going to start leaving a speckled appearance on them, and when there's a ton of them, it really weakens the plant because they're basically sucking out the plant's blood. Think of like mosquitoes for plants.
Right. Okay.
So those tiny guys you saw in there are something that I find highly fascinating. They are tiny little wasps, something that we call parasitoids. I gotta ask you guys, have you seen the movie Alien?
No, I have.
No, I have not either.
That's
Do you guys know about the chest burster scene though? Where there is an alien that bursts out of a person's chest.
It sounds familiar. I've probably seen the clip before. But like I said, I haven't seen the movie, so I'll put it on
one,
the.
and now I feel old.
I'll put it on the
I
watch
haven't
list
seen
for
it
sure.
either. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's all good. I'll put it on the watch list, and we'll have to watch it later.
Okay. But if you see the chest burster scene where there's like a baby alien that bursts out of the chest of a human, parasitoids are quite literally that happening in the wild.
Okay.
And there's a shocking number of them that exist out in the world.
Okay.
They're just all teeny tiny. So these little tiny wasps that you saw flying around, they will go and they will find the larval, the baby whiteflies, and they will sting them with their little itty bitty stinger and lay an egg inside of there. That little tiny wasp egg is going to hatch into a little larval baby wasp that is going to eat the whitefly from the inside out while it is alive.
Interesting.
And then in the end, it will end up, I'm seeing faces back there. I love this. Sorry. So the baby whitefly, or the baby wasp is going to eat the baby whitefly from the inside out when the baby wasp is ready to pupate, go into its version of a chrysalis, and emerge as an adult wasp. That is then going to kill the baby whitefly. So we have less whiteflies and we have more wasps. We released those guys maybe about 6 months ago or so in the greenhouse. And I have been very excited because even now when I go walk to some of the plants that tend to have a lot of whiteflies on them, we still see whiteflies. But it's less of them than what we saw before. And you will actually see a tiny little cloud of the tiniest little wasps start to fly around.
Nice. That's awesome.
My question for that would be like, do the tiny wasps end up turning big and they start to make like hives in the greenhouse at all?
No, they do not. So the wasps that we think of that you see around that make hives and people are quite worried about stinging them, that is a completely unrelated type of wasps. Sorry to ruin people's days, but there are literally hundreds of thousands of wasp species out there. Fortunately, most of them are so small, like these guys, that you actually don't see them unless you have a microscope or are very specifically looking for them. And they do a lot of roles like these guys where they are going and stinging and parasitizing and killing off some of other insect species. They will never get larger than that tiny little wasp you saw in there. That is the adult form of the insect. It will never get larger than that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Because like I said, they're very small, and if you wouldn't have pointed it out to me, I probably wouldn't have seen them. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So like the tiny wasp is like a good bug then?
It is a super bug. There are other species, different versions of these types of wasp that can vary in sizes, and usually they're very specific to the type of insect that they will go and parasitize and kind of host. But there's a lot of insects out there that we use this type of super bug on. Another example people might think of is if you have tomato or pepper plants at home, you might see these big fat caterpillars that we call hornworms on them. They're like the size of your pointer finger almost. Kind of big, green, have little stripes. If you ever see one of those on a tomato plant and it has a whole bunch of little white, little like cocoon looking things on the top, it looks like it almost has tiny cotton swabs. Those are actually hundreds of parasitoid wasp cocoons where that larva was parasitized, and that's about to release a bunch of adult wasps, and that caterpillar is actually about to die. You actually would want to leave those ones alone because those adult wasps are then going to go take care of the other caterpillars that you have around.
Yeah, cool. And is that something that you enjoy, I guess kind of doing or participating into when you're
I would
in
say
the greenhouse?
Yeah. I mean, like, for most of the time, you're just kind of like open a jar and then you walk away.
Right.
But when you find them around, it's like, oh yeah, hey, I know you. I like brought you here.
Right. And is that nice for when you're in situations like outside of the greenhouse and I don't know, maybe like the mountains or even just like the Mustang Trail, for instance, like is that something that you're like, oh, like now I know this because of something that I learned from, agronomy or from school. Is that something that is cool for you too?
I mean, I'm going to be real. I don't touch grass all that often.
Okay. No, that's fine. And not everybody does.
I'm a student that's stuck inside most of the time.
I gotcha.
So
Okay.
my grass is the greenhouse.
Okay.
But it is really cool. It has helped me in like my classes where I'm learning about different things versus like if I'm out and about, you know?
Okay. Do you take any plants home? I know my roommate has a couple, but do you take plants home and I guess kind of put them on your windowsill or put them in the room as little pets almost?
She has given me almost all of my plants.
Yeah, okay.
Because they've been like, oh, well, they're sick and I think that they're going to die. And then I'll do like a last ditch effort to save them. And now they're taking up my entire window.
Yeah, cool. Do you participate in the like plant shows that we have or the plant sales that we have around campus and stuff like that? Because I know I've been walking in the hallways sometimes and they've been selling plants and stuff. Is that stuff that you guys both partake in across the school?
We are the ones that run the SMSU
Yeah.
greenhouse
Okay. Yeah.
plant. So
Okay.
yeah.
Obviously.
So we do that. We try and get in about 2 sales during the fall semester and 1 in the spring. And we use the funds that we get from that. They all go directly back to the greenhouse. And we use it to try and bring in new types of plants or do improvements that are just overall going to help the greenhouse and uses people might have it for. So we've used those funds to do things like we have a nice commercial humidifier in there that allows us to have much happier tropical plants in the tropical room. It also allows a lot of these insects that we bring in to actually hang around longer and live and do their jobs. We also got like a new sink from it that allows us to do pot washing or students to do pot washing without having to bend over on the ground, which was not particularly fun.
That hurt my back for like a good year.
Yeah. Was it like a faucet on like down low, or was it?
It was like a tub of water.
Oh, okay.
Like a
that'll do
giant
it.
tub of water, and I was sitting on like a rolly chair, and I would have my hands on my knees
Yeah.
for literal hours.
The old
Big
sink
pots.
was like a small utility sink, and you couldn't really fit much for pots in there. And we also like to have a bin that is soapy water and a bin for rinsing water.
Right.
And so, yeah, we had to kind of go set up like in the greenhouse with 2 tubs that we filled up with the hose. And now we have a big sink, so you can stand up and do it. And it drains nicely, and I think makes it more accessible for students as well who might be doing projects and need to clean up some of that stuff afterwards.
Right. And then how important is it for you guys, or how exciting is it for you guys to get or to raise these funds and then end up being able to buy like new equipment or new stuff for the greenhouse?
I think people were probably really tired of hearing me talk about a humidifier when I brought that in.
Okay. Really? Okay.
I was
cool.
very
Also me.
excited.
Yeah.
That's great.
Do like students get sparked? Like, is their interest sparked when they see the plant sales? Do you have a lot of students who come and buy plants from you?
I think we get a decent number of students, often repeat offenders who I, bring into my grasp of plant love. And they will come and get new plants. We have other people who I think just want to have something kind of fun or are bouncing around with their friends and get something small to bring back to their dorm. We try and keep our plant prices pretty low and open to everyone because, again, we're just trying to bring some funding back into the greenhouse. We're growing these plants and starting them on our own. We're not doing it for a profit. We're trying to help the greenhouse out, but also kind of just spread the joy of plants around campus too. And we have some students and I think some professors who definitely come back and seem very happy about it.
And it seems like you guys get really good turnouts on those sales. I know a couple of people myself that end up buying stuff from it, so it's really cool seeing you guys do those things, and people love it, obviously. So Yep.
We've had times in the past where I think usually the first one, either the one in the spring or the first one in the fall. I know we've had times where we've had like a dozen people lined up before we even have the cash box and are
There you
allowed
go.
to like sell them yet.
Yep.
I'm like, please let us finish setting up the plants.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. First come, first serve on that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess this is kind of shifting gears a little bit, but has there been any situations where you've had somebody who's interested in the subject but might be, I know you said that the bugs don't get too big, but they might like have some initial be like maybe scared of some certain aspects of it, or is that usually not something you have to worry about too much?
Well, if you guys want to get a kick out of something, before I started getting a literal degree in entomology, I actually did not like bugs. I thought bug faces were horrific.
Right.
I was going to go to vet school for big animals, and I actually learned about them. I was doing a summer job in an entomology lab because this was back at Purdue, and that was pretty much the only way that I could do lab work that would go towards veterinary hours that like vet school wanted to see, but I could also get paid. And during that time, I started learning from people a lot of these really weird, wild facts about bugs and realizing that they're really just tiny animals that have crazy little lives. And for me, that's what drew me into the point that I switched my majors and went kind of towards research and now teaching about plants and bugs, and that's how I've switched. And I think that's how I often bring other people in, is kind of just tell some of these crazy stories of how these things live. And
Yeah.
Could you show us more of the bugs that you have with you tonight?
absolutely. So I'm going to hand over these 2 vials. Tell me what you see in those.
Take one. All right, so we got a little black. We got a red and black bug that kind of looks like it's like the same shape of a ladybug almost, in my opinion. Then we got maybe it looks like some eggs from those wasp bugs you were talking about, and then I see there's like this little white one that looks like hairy almost. What do you see, John? Same thing, or?
I see a little different thing. I see like a white little small caterpillar on mine that looks like it's eating away at the plant.
So, a cool thing. The big things you guys are noticing in both of your vials are actually the same species of insect. That is actually a type of ladybug. The common name of it is a fantastic name. They are known as the mealybug destroyer. Because what you are seeing your caterpillar-looking one do, that is the larval, that is the kind of juvenile baby form of that beetle. And that one is feasting right now on mealybugs, which is the small things you both are seeing in there that are small, kind of fuzzy and white or kind of pinkish, running around. They're real little.
He's walking over to it right now, I think.
Oh, yeah. You can see both of them. They will move around and they will chomp on those little guys. So those are other beneficial insects that we just brought in about a week and a half or so ago. We released a bunch of the adults, and they are running around chomping away at mealybugs and some other insects for us. That larval one you're seeing that's real fluffy and white looking is actually one that was eggs laid by a different group of adults we released maybe a month or two ago. And we were very excited to find that we actually have juveniles running around. So hopefully they will establish themselves so that they will be breeding in our greenhouse. And if you guys visit and look very closely at the plants, hopefully they will always be around in there now.
That is just so cool. Like, I've never seen this before. This is just really cool.
Yeah. So the really wild look of, having something that looks kind of like a black ladybug with a reddish head, and its juvenile form looking kind of like a fluffy white caterpillar. It's the same process as what we see in butterflies, where you have a little caterpillar and then it pupates in a chrysalis. These guys also make a kind of chrysalis, or pupa is what we call them. It is not the same shape as a butterfly one, but it would be kind of like a little nub that you would see on the bottom of a leaf. And then when they come back out, they look like that round little beetle.
Cool.
The final bug is also another kind of ladybug. This one is one you all might be a little more familiar with seeing. This is called a convergent lady beetle. So these are native. And we also...
These are the ones that are in Marshall, right?
We have multiple species that will run around in Minnesota. The main ones you see in your house are probably what we call Harmonia, or the Asian lady beetle.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
So those guys are actually invasive.
Yes.
These ones are native. All of them, though, are pretty good general predators. What that means is that they are superbugs that go out and they eat a wide variety of other insects. So these guys will eat some of the mealybugs. They might eat other insect pests that we know of, like aphids, thrips. Those whiteflies I showed you, if they can catch them, they will eat them.
That's sweet. Yeah. I remember just earlier, past couple months, those Asian beetles have really been giving me a hard time. So
They get in everywhere.
yeah, like I'll find some in my car, I'll find some in my room. It's just, and especially like I said with the rain, I don't know if the rain affected it, but I never noticed it being this bad for all the years I've been here in the past. And obviously all that rain we got.
Rain could affect it because these guys are often going into places like soybean fields or other areas, and some of their favorite bugs they like to eat are called aphids. And aphids can start to take off if the plants are doing well, getting lots of nitrogen, which is a nutrient. My bad. They might take off if there's a lot of nitrogen, a type of nutrient, or if the plants are having enough water. The aphids can kind of take off, and that's going to feed the ladybugs, make more of the ladybugs. And now it's cold. Guys, they're just cold. They want to come in your home and be cozy.
Yeah, I noticed that.
my favorite part is like how the Asian beetles seem to be attracted to like the bright lights.
A lot of insects are that way. They will actually fly towards light. I think a lot of that kind of relates towards they kind of go towards the sun. That'll get them up away from the ground and flying around so they can go places. But many insects, if you want to trap them or move them, maybe put a cup or something over it. And if you want them to go towards the base of the cup, have that face a light or the sun. And then they're going to move up and not out.
Interesting. That's good to know. Is there anything, before we wrap it up here, is there anything that maybe a story or just any advice that you would like to give to somebody who might have a sudden interest in, this field, or somebody who might be considering, taking this on as a major or a minor?
So I would say if you are interested in learning more about this kind of stuff or about the plants and everything, one, feel free to swing by the greenhouse. I am often popping in there doing things. Trish is often in there. Otherwise, I'm running around campus teaching some classes and stuff. I am always happy to chat. One way that you might dip your toes into sort of agronomy, and not the insects so much, but a little bit later in the semester, we are teaching a course right now that is sustainable gardening, which is a science course. It meets goal 3, goal 10, and I think that's been a really nice way for a lot of non-science major people to kind of dip their toes in and be like, oh, this is kind of how some science work. This is how different plants work. And you learn a little more, too, about just everything that goes into these plants, into soils, the insects, how even something like a little simple garden on your balcony or a greenhouse is a whole ecosystem that has a lot of things living together.
Cool. Anything you would like to add, Trish, to that?
I mean, Kirsten is a really good source of information on like a lot of things, But there are also a ton of professors that you can talk to. I know Dr. Flint is a really good source. She knows a lot about plants especially. So if you really want, just start conversations is probably the best way to do it.
I will say Dr. Shelby Flint probably knows more about plants than I do. I got the bug side down. And if you want to learn more about bugs, there is me or Dr. Adam Alford or Dr. Alyssa Anderson. Somehow our campus has been really fortunate to have 3 entomologists as professors. So all of us love bugs and we could talk people's ears off about them.
That's awesome. And how can students reach out to you? Would it be via, or obviously in person, but email is good. And then, like you said, you guys are usually in the greenhouse too. So if you're interested and in this major or just the field in general, make sure to do that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to me via email. If you stop by the science office, you could talk with Monica Miller in there. I will say, like with the stuff I've talked about, you could either, if you're interested in different majors, you could either go the science route, which is what the greenhouse is technically run under. I am also in the agronomy side, so that is much more focused on growing field crops and things outdoors. But a big part of field crops is going to be that pest management side, and you are still growing plants. It's just usually a lot of one kind of plant.
Sounds good. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the podcast today. It was really cool learning about all these different things, and I hope to see you guys in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on, and I always love talking about this, so it was great to have this opportunity.
Don't tell Bill this, but it was delivered on February 9th, but it wasn't completed until 2 weeks later because I had to rebuild it over the course of weekends because I had to teach full time. So I went up every weekend after that and put in 12 to 14-hour days at the foundry, getting it fixed and getting it up to where it needed to be. And then what we see outside is the Mustang now. And so that's what I did. I fixed it, and Bill never found out.
Until now.
Until tonight.